always love talking to Jermaine Ferrell. He is the sports director at WFXR, channel 2127 in Lynchburg, Roanoke. How long have you been there now?
It's been a decade. Yeah, been a decade
Wow.
working at WFXR, and it's been a great experience. I mean, the high school sports we've covered in this last decade has been second to none, and it's been this season is no exception. We've had some outstanding performances, some great players and teams, and now we're down to five teams in our area looking to bring home a state championship, but they got to get past that state semifinal.
Well, shame on me for being so slow, first off, but I wanted to ask you a quick question. Before this, you were in the Dallas Fort Worth area. What pulled you back to our great community of Central and Southwest Virginia?
Well, I mean, for people who don't know, I am a graduate of Patrick Henry High School in Roanoke, class of 1992. So if you do your math, I'm 51 years old. And of course, I worked with you at SET for a little bit,
Yep.
and then went to back to Wichita Falls, Texas, a little west of Dallas. I mean, I've been working. I worked in that market previously for nearly 9 years, a decade, and then went back there, did weekend sports, and then when WFXR, which was purchased by Nexstar, which was the parent company of the station where I worked in Wichita Falls, it gave me the opportunity to get back here and been here ever since. And it's been an awesome journey back home and covering a lot of the teams that I know about and understand what happens. But this has been a tremendous journey, a tremendous ride, and so many great coaches. I mean, Bob, we have so many great coaches and players and athletes, and they make our job so much easier. And, it's one thing to cover the colleges and the pros, but really when you get a chance to cover these high school kids, and especially you get them to see win a state championship or have that opportunity, such a special thing. So it's been a pleasure and a joy to continue that. And, he had a lot of great mentors that I've seen over the years. I mean, guys like a Dennis Carter, you grew up watching him, and we got a chance to work with him. And then you have like a Mike Stevens, who really, when you think of high school football shows, Friday Football Extra, that was like the gold standard, not only in this area, but also throughout. And then you have like a Greg Roberts, grew up watching him. Then, Dave Ross, what he's done. And, of course, two great guys in Roy Stanley and John Organ who paved the way for other, black guys to do sports in the market, which has been tremendous because, hearing Roy Stanley's stories, telling me how, he applied for a job and they said, we're not hiring any N-words. And for him to pave the way for me, guys like myself and Eric Johnson over at SLS, I mean, we don't get a chance to do this without them. And, myself and Ryan Moy and Miriam Chamberlain, I mean, we have a strong sports department, strong sports team, and we love getting after it and covering sports. And, with our Hardy's Friday Night Blitz show, I mean, we always get after it. And, we couldn't have the show without the shooters. And I know I'm getting long-winded with your answer, but, we can't really do it without the behind-the-scenes crew, the staff, the station management investing in the show and believing in the show. So, we're just trying to carry on a proud tradition of high school coverage that started while I was knee-high or a grasshopper with those guys I mentioned earlier because, they really paved the way.
And we'll go more in depth on a lot of that later on, too. Who are you all in on Saturday from our area?
You mean as far as who I think will win, or are you just
Yeah, if
saying
I
who
gave
am
you
I?
all if I gave you all the poker chips and you slide them all to the table, I mean, are you sliding them on a Glenver
I,
or who?
well, I tell you what, I think all five teams have a great chance. I mean, if you look, and I'll start from Class 4, work my way down. When you look at Class 4, I mean, what JF did to George Washington, I mean, the score 49-7, I didn't see that score happening because, the way George Washington's been playing, I mean, GW, I mean, they were on an 11-game winning streak, Bob. I
Yep.
mean, the only other loss was the first game of the season. And then they just got hot and they got momentum going. And then JF, they've been playing with a chip on the shoulders, particularly in the playoffs. The last couple of years to get knocked out early as they did, in close, tough games. And for them to lose the way they did and then to break through. And I think with Coach Cruz, I mean, I'm sure he said this, hey, now that we broke through, we have another opportunity. Now, obviously, they got a tough one against a Verona team, which I saw the first game of the season when they played William Fleming in Roanoke. And I can tell you right now, they have a bunch of D1 kids. But this is the time of the year. Now you want to I mean, there's benchmarks. I mean, Bob. I talked to Rick Watson a lot down in Radford, but teams want to be practicing the week of Thanksgiving, and if they're lucky enough, let's practice in December. And
Mm-hmm.
now we have 5 local teams there. But JF, I think they can have a good chance against Verona. It's going to be a tough game down there in Richmond. I mean, Verona is a tough place to play, and they've really been. They shut out Dinwiddie, which was impressive in that regional semifinal. To beat a Dinwiddie team, shut them out. I mean, Dinwiddie's been rolling on everybody.
Right.
And then we go down to Class 3. We got Liberty Christian and Magna Vista, and I'll start with Liberty Christian. I mean, right now, Bob, they have the longest playoff winning streak active right now. They've won 13 straight playoff games.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Coach Brad Bradley over Heritage would tell me, like, there was a stretch where Heritage was averaging 14 to 15 games a season. So when you look at that, when you look at Bob, in essence, in 3 years, they've actually played an extra year of football.
Yep.
If you figure they played 14 games when they won their first state title, 14 last year, and then right now they're going to play their 13th game. I mean, that's 41 games. I mean, so they actually played an extra season of football. And, I mean, eventually that's got to work out. But LCA has just been – they're run through the regional playoffs all on the road, and now they got a tough when they go up to Northern Virginia to play a Kettle Run team they beat in the championship game last year. And Kettle Run's been playing pretty well. But, I mean, how can you not bet against – I mean, it seems to be crazy to bet against LCA because everybody failures, or they're going to lose this game. They're going to lose here. And then last week, I mean, to win in overtime over a Heritage team, again, they were on an 11-game winning streak as well. So you had that. And then Magna Vista, I mean, the scoreboard operator, guys, I'm telling you, Bob, he's probably got finger cramps. I mean, every playoff game, I mean, every week they set a playoff record for points. I mean, 65-34 over Lord Bottot. I mean, a game that you figure was going to be closer with those two teams, but Magna Vista is showing something. And now they got a tough one. They got to go down to Norfolk to play a Lake Taylor team that once before we've seen Lake Taylor at the Class 4 level down there in Class 3. But I think they can go to Norfolk and win that game. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but the way their offense has been playing, if they can keep that offense going the way it has, Bob, they have a chance. And then, we go down to Class 2 with Glenver. Glenver and Union, a matchup of the only 2 undefeated teams remaining in all of the state. So we're going to be down to 1 undefeated team. And, of course, I got to give a lot of credit to Union, the way they've been focused under the circumstances of what's been going on down there, which we won't get into. But Glenver has just really been fired up. Now here's an opportunity in a tough place because Union, they're strong. Can they go down there and win a game like that? Because, they haven't been challenged all year. I mean, Brody Doyle, even when he got hurt, he comes back and he plays pretty well. And, Bob, that's going to be a tremendous matchup. I mean, the winner of that game is going to be in good shape probably to win a state title. In fact, you could almost say that's your state championship game there. Not that I'm saying that the next one won't. And then in Class 1, for the second straight year, I mean, Grayson County and Rye Cove were playing in the state semifinals. Grayson County won at Rye Cove last year. And now I think they're playing at Bullitt Park and a neutral site in Big Stone Gap, which is a tough place to play down there. But Grayson County, for the second straight year, Bob, they have really got hot at the right time. They play a tough schedule in the beginning of the year. And then when the playoff time rolls, Bob, they get hot. And you see what they've done in the playoffs as well. They've had strong performances. Third straight week they played in Giles County, and they finally, after Giles beat them 53-30, in the regular season finale, they come back 2 weeks later and beat them bad. And then, you see what they do against a tough George Wythe team, a team that they always make deep playoff runs. So, and again, Rye Cove won't be easy. I mean, Rye Cove, the only local team they played this year, they played Botetourt down there at Emory, and, Botetourt beat them. So I give all 5 teams a chance of winning. There's not really one game I could say, well, I don't know if our local team can win that game, but they're going to have to continue their strong play. I mean, Grayson County and Glenver and, Liberty Christian and Magna Vista and Jefferson Forest, they all are going to have to continue to play strong if they want to make it their goal. Now, obviously, Class 3 and Class 4 will be played in Lynchburg at Williams Stadium at Liberty University, and Class 1 and Class 2 finals we played at Salem Stadium in Salem.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to push all my chips in on one, that's unfair to the other four. But at the same time, I'd push some chips in on five too, because once you get to this point, everybody's got a chance. And I mean, if you say somebody doesn't have a chance, well, they still have a puncher's chance, and a puncher's
Oh, yeah.
chance is better than no chance.
And that's the thing, Bob, is like this time of the year, usually you have special stories. You have teams that are, that you look back at the beginning of the year, did you have making this deep of a playoff run? Probably not. But when you look at these five teams, to be honest, I'm not surprised all five are where they are. I mean, Grayson County, they were in the finals last year. Glenver was in the state semifinal last year. Liberty Christian won it all last year. Magna Vista made it to a regional final. JF, they were in the regional finals last year. So it's not really that surprising to see these teams there. Now, again, the key is you want to break through and play for a state title. And I tell you one thing. I mean, if you look at Class 3, if Magna Vista and LCA could get in there, that's going to be a fun state championship game. So you're going to have that. And then, like I said, if Glenver can get through and win their game, that'd be great. And Grayson County getting back now. What's interesting is when you look at in Class 1, Essex, the defending state champion, they're knocked out. The Class 2 defending state champion, they got knocked out also.
Mm.
And then in Class 3, Liberty Christian still in there. And in Class 4, the defending champ, I think they're knocked out in Class 4. So I think you're going to have a lot of opportunities. Well, actually, yeah. So you're going to have these opportunities, and it's just going to be fun to see what happens, And all those games we played Saturday at 2 o'clock, and, we'll see what happens afterwards. But, yeah, it's going to be a fun state semifinal.
And from a numbers perspective, the Class 3A LCA Bulldogs shouldn't be there because they're a 6 seed, but they have been true Animal and Hawk, the Road Warriors, to where they've gone on the road for every game and won. So I think that's kind of remarkable, to be truthful with you.
Well, and the thing is, they're a 6 seed, and when
Mm.
you think of a 6 seed, you probably had a team that was barely 500, but LCA was 7-2
Yep.
entering the playoffs. So it wasn't like like I said, not all playoff brackets are created equal because there's some 8 seeds that had no business being in the playoffs, but that's just how it is. But I think, like for instance, you look at the region the region 5C, everybody had a winning record, and
Yep.
then you had some regions where you had teams with 2 or 3 wins get in. So not everybody's created equal. So when you look at it, if you're the defending state champion, do you really call these wins upsets? I mean, because LCA next year, they're going to be a factor next year because most of your team is made up of juniors. They graduated a lot of seniors, and everybody felt, well, LCA is not going to be as good. But I think winning is winning. If there's a culture of winning and having success, then that will stay with you. And those juniors have seen the last 2 years what it takes to make a playoff run and win a state title. So this junior group has a chance here. So that's why I never count out. There's certain teams you just don't count out.
Right.
Like I said, LCA, I wouldn't count them out because, like I said, they've won the last 2. And until you showed it, and now they almost lost in the first round, which is crazy. In the playoffs, usually there's that one game that's so close, but they got it done. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Really, all these teams, I mean, they have a great chance, Bob.
Yeah, and it's funny. You could argue which game was closer, the first game with LCA or the game that took them 5 periods, essentially, with overtime to knock off Heritage. So, yeah, and I think also you've got with LCA a situation to where, hey, we lost our 5-star athlete to Clemson, and we lost a really, really good offensive lineman to Clemson. And we lost a lot of complementary parts to all over the place. But, hey, we're going to win despite that because I think when you have a guy like Gideon Davis, and a lot of people hear how great Gideon is, and I'm not knocking him. He was very much up to billing. But at the same time, I think when you kind of replace that guy at some point, you're like, okay, we're still going to win because this was not called the Gideon Davidson Bulldogs. It was called the Liberty Christian Academy Bulldogs. So good for LCA to, have that target on their back and so far living up to it.
And the biggest thing is, Bob, when like I said, they're battle tested. So I don't think the thing is nothing phases this team.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is that when I look at Liberty Christian, and it starts with coaching. And Coach Rocco, he's won state championships not only at the private level, he's won it now at the VI, the VHSL level, and what they've done over there is just tremendous with the numbers. They don't have a lot of numbers, that some of the other programs have. But success breeds success, and there's a culture. And when you're used to winning, I mean, that's how it is. You look at this year, we've had so many programs that have understand what the culture is. You get the right coach in there, and they do what it takes to have success. And that's the reason why these programs are where they are. It's not a surprise that these are 5 programs that have been there. You look at Grayson County. The only thing they've missed is they haven't won a state title. For Glenver, they're going for their it's been 11 years since they won state, but they've been to, I think they've been like to 7 or 8 straight regional finals, and they've run into like their regional final, making it to regional championship. You think about it, coincided so far the run that Appomattox had when they won 5 state titles. The team, they couldn't. There was one year there was all those years they couldn't get past Appomattox, and then the year Radford won it, they couldn't get past Radford. Well, now that they got past those teams, now it's a state semifinal, and they have a chance here. And then when you look at Class 3, I mean, for Magna Vista, it's been a decade since they won a state title. So and Coach Rivero, he knows what it takes to get it done. He's won a couple. And then LCA, of course, they've done that. And then Jefferson Forest. We look at Jefferson Forest, they weren't too far removed from being a team that could only win a couple of games a year.
Yep.
And you bring in a JT Cruz, and he's if I remember right, he was a coach over at EC Glass.
Correct.
He did what he had to do to turn the program around. Now JF is a respected program. So it starts with, I feel like in order to be a successful program, it starts with the coach and developing the culture. And the players have to buy into said culture, because you could have the greatest culture in the world, but if those players aren't buying in, particularly your star players, it's not going to work. So you have to buy in. And these 5 teams that are in the state semifinal in our area, there's a buy-in, and they have bought into what is going on. And that is the reason why they where they are today, with an opportunity to play for a state championship if they get past this round the following.
Last time JF was in a state final, yours truly was like a freshman at JF. So
that was 93, wasn't it, or 92? Was it
92, 93. Yeah, 93, I think.
Yeah.
It's been
So
been
I
a minute.
was, it's been 30 years, and I was I was in the Army.
Yeah.
I was an Army guy. So I was I was 19 years old. So I'm 51 now, but 19. And it's probably like you look at it, like I said, they have the longest. Well, actually, Grayson County's never been. Well, they've been to a state championship last year, but when you look at the teams that are still in, they have the longest drought because they haven't been there in so long. And when we interviewed for our Hardy's Friday Night Blitz media days, you could tell that there was something in the eyes and something that they want to do. And their biggest mantra is, hey, we got to get past where we were in the playoffs.
Right.
It's one thing to get there, and Coach Cruz has done a tremendous job. I mean, those kids really buy into him, and it's so good to see this, Bob. And like I said, all 5 of our teams. I mean, if you look at the Seminole, once again, you got 2 teams that are still in the mix, and so it proves how strong the district is. I mean, they're the only district in the state where everyone's won a state championship, which is an impressive stat when you look at it. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, when we go from Friday Night Blitz, tell me where we go next after Friday Night Blitz is done.
And then next week will be our 17th and final show. We do a state final preview, which hopefully we will preview a team going, because that's the only thing when you call your last show the state finals preview, is that if you don't have one, then we'll come up with something to fill the show. But it's been a great run we've had here with the show. I mean, Friday Night Blitz, Hardy's Friday Night Blitz has been tremendous. Like I said, I look back at the blueprint, and I give a lot of credit. I see Mike Stevens all the time. I say, hey, Mike, I'm just using your playbook. I just tweak it the way I need it to go. But like I said, it's not that complicated. It's really simple. We get into the communities. We build relationships with coaches and players and their families. And, tomorrow's a big day as we're recording this. Tomorrow is signing day. We get to see these kids. I've done stories now on kids that 10 years later graduate from high school.
Right.
And the biggest thing they remember is, hey, you did a story on me. I could do a story on a pro athlete. They could care less or remember. But if you do it on that high school kid, and Bob, and I got to give you credit for what you've done with high school athletics and with your coverage of the sports buffet and high school athletics and even the small colleges. I mean, you're there, your interviews are posted, and you really get after it. And I just want to give you a lot of praise for what you do in our area for high school athletics because you're out there getting it done also.
Well, I appreciate that. It's really hard once you get outside of football because I think a lot of people are like, all right, see you next August. But the true warriors like you and so many others are still out there covering winter, spring, summer. I mean, everything. So kudos to you.
Well, I appreciate that. And the thing is, dude, we don't cover. I mean, we cover basketball. I
Hmm.
mean, and we cover all the high school sports.
Right.
But the philosophy, and I've said this before. I mean, obviously, high school football is big. We get the highlights, and we might get a game here or there for high school basketball. But nowadays, it's the days of let's shoot 10 or 15 games. I mean, we don't do that. A, we don't have the manpower, and B, it's more become featurey. Like we do packages and stories on the high school kids and what they're doing. So we've kind of changed our philosophy. I mean, it's a philosophy that's worked, but I think if you want to attract that non-traditional sports fan, I mean, to cut for if you just show highlights of a matchup between high school A and high school B, I
Yep.
think people get lost in that. But if you just do a profile, you do features, you do that, it's fun. But yeah, we couldn't do it without our coaches out there and the players and administrators because they let us come in and get what we need. I mean, there's not a coach I can't call right now and say, hey, coach, can we come and get an interview or can we
Right.
get this and get that or come to the practice? They appreciate it and we appreciate them because those coaches, they're not doing it for the money. They're not doing it for glory or wins. They're doing it to shape young men and women because the person that has a most impact on high school kids is their high school coach,
Right.
and they will always remember their high school coach. I remember my high school coaches, and I remember what they showed me because when you're let's face it, when you're a 15 to 18-year old, it doesn't land. A lot of times it does, but it doesn't. But when you're like in your 30s or 40s and you have a family and you have, or you're a coach yourself, the same thing your coaches told you back then, you'll remember that. Wow, like Coach so and so, I remember you telling me that, and you thought that it didn't mean anything then when you were a kid, but now you understand why the coaches told you those things, and that's just how that is.
We'll do this again a lot more often, and definitely appreciate your time, Jermaine.
Well, Bob, again, I appreciate you and Mr. Hamlet. I tell you one thing, and you guys called one heck of a game. And if when next time you talk to Mr. Hamlet, tell him Jermaine Ferrell said hi. Tell him I'm a big fan of what he does on the air with you and your Heritage broadcast. And everybody, we have great broadcasters. And I know they see us do our thing, but the places, the stations that cover high school, whether it's through a stream or on radio, you guys do a tremendous job. So keep up the good work as usual.
Well, we appreciate that. We'll talk more down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you.